Hey guys, so I wanted to hop on really quick. Well, not really quick because I'm gonna probably be here for a little bit, but I wanted to hop on and kind of show you guys how I make elderberry syrup when I make it for my family. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm really probably just making it so I could show you guys how to make it. I don't really take elderberry syrup with my kids. We do elderberry extract, which I make, which is essentially the same thing, except we use the vodka to extract all the properties from everything. We just put it in like a, I did a video a while back on how to make elderberry extract. We just put the vodka in the jar with the ingredients, let it sit for 6 weeks, and we take it that way. Some people prefer syrup, so we're just gonna make that today and show you guys how super easy it is while my kids scream in the background. So this is just to show you that you can make this too while your kids are also screaming in the background. All right. So on my stove, I have, it's a mess, excuse it. I have a pan and I've got it simmering. Oh, I turned the wrong burner on. And I have 3 cups of water in there. So I'm making a smaller batch. You can double this recipe and you can double some of the stuff in the recipe. Some of it you won't have to. You can just use the same amount. But again, this is not, I might be like wiping my nose with the back of my arm, but I'm just letting you know I'm not making something that I'm selling. This isn't a product that I'm going to be like giving to anybody but my kids so they can eat my boogers. I'm totally kidding. I washed my hand. Everything is washed ahead of time. I just like an itch in my nose, like the tip of my nose. But, so I've got 3 cups of water in the pan boiling right now. I used water from my water filter system. I use a zero water filtration system. It's called Zero Water. I got it on Amazon, and it's actually really great because it brings your water ppm down to like 0. I did a video a while back showing me testing a Brita filter versus tap water versus a zero water filter. And I showed my tap water was at 44 ppms. Then Brita brought it down to 40. And then the zero water filter actually brought it down to 0. So it has like nothing in it. So I did use water from that. You can use distilled water. You can use tap water. You can use whatever makes your heart happy. No judgment zone, right? So I'm going to take the 3 cups of the water. I'm going to add to it a cup of elderberries. Ooh, elderberries always smell like butt to me. I don't know why. I have a new bag. I'm just going to open my new bag once I got rid of the other ones that I had. So when you order herbs, make sure they come in like a foil bag like this or some sort of not see-through bag, because if sunlight and light can get to the herbs, it'll degrade their medicinal properties. So I get mine from Frontier Co-op and Star West Botanicals. They're really great online websites that you can order like from the United States type of herbs. So I'm going to do 3 cups of water to the 1 cup of elderberries. And again, you can double this, so you could do 6 cups of water to 2 cups of elderberry. There's really like, this is one of those things where it's like, if it's not precise, it's going to be completely wrong and it won't be syrupy. Well, it's not going to be syrupy anyway, and I'll show you that. So I'm going to add that to the water. Again, this is just for me and my kids, so I'm sticking my fingers in there to mix that in. So we got our elderberries. Ooh. A cup of those. We're going to add in 2 cinnamon sticks. You can add 3 if you want. Throw a couple extra if you like it cinnamony. I'm just going to do 2 because, again, this is a small batch. So you don't need a ton. And I'm going to add, I got cloves. You're going to do, they say like a tablespoon of cloves. Like 1/2 to a tablespoon of cloves. So I'm just going to free ball it and throw in like a couple cloves. I've got like probably 10 cloves here. And I'm just going to pop those right into my pot. I should probably show you my pot. There's my pot. Okay. So I've got my cloves, my cinnamon sticks. Now I'm going to add in some ginger. We are going to add honey to this, but we're not going to add it until it's cooled off at the end. Because if you add honey to anything while it's still hot, you're going to lose the medicinal values of it, the properties. The heat is going to destroy it. So I'm going to take, you could really do, again, this is one of those things where you don't need a specific amount. you can kind of just like, and you don't have to peel the ginger if you don't want to. You can really, I just cut off the ends because they've got kind of been like, you know, out exposed, and they're kind of like, it's healthier from the inside, I guess. I don't know what my logic is. I just cut off the ends. So you got your little thing of ginger. I would probably say we're going to use half of this. So we're going to put that, I'm going to make an extract with the rest of this ginger. So I'm using, and this is all organic stuff, just so you guys know. No appeal, right? No appeal. So I'm just going to use an amount about this much, and I'm going to slice it up into thin slices. So it's a little easier for the water to pull out the properties of it as it's simmering. I'm just gonna, let's see. And the cool thing about this is you guys can actually add even more stuff than I add, because I know people who make and have elderberry extract, and they use like, they put like mullein in it, stuff like that, like rose hip for vitamin C. But I feel like the elderberries have enough of that stuff. It's almost like you're, to me, it's just like, I only need one thing that's going to put a bunch of vitamin C in there. I don't need to, you know, like, your body can only absorb so much vitamin C, and the rest of it just passes out naturally. So you don't need, to me, this is enough. That's just how I feel. So I'm going to do, normally I don't do this part. Okay, so I did the ginger. Normally I don't add oranges and lemons, but I'm gonna do that today. So I'm gonna cut these in half, and because why not, right? Because why not? This is one of those things where it's kind of like you can kind of make it your own, you know, like you don't really have to follow a strict recipe. And if you have a recipe and you don't follow it to a T, it's not going to be the end of the world, right? So I am going to squeeze the orange juice in there. And I was thinking about, the reason I'm doing this is because I was hoping it'll make it taste better. Because I don't know about you guys, but elderberry syrup to me doesn't taste the greatest. I usually will just like add it to juice or something when I take it, but I'm just going to squeeze these in here. So you'll have that extra vitamin C, but for me, it's more for taste. I'm sure there's still more juice in here than the ones I'm squeezing. Oh, that just shot across the counter. I'm sure there's more juice in there, but I'm going to actually also cut them up and put the peels in there, because a lot of the goodness in them is in the peels as well. So... And I think now that I've made this, once I make it, I'm gonna just shoot it everywhere. I'm probably gonna have my family take it once a day. When you're doing elderberry syrup, for me, this is my personal thing. I hope you enjoy Chloe singing. We do 1 teaspoon a day. You can do a little more if you want. But if you get sick, I'm going to cut the orange up and put it in there too. If you get sick, you can take more than that. So I would take like a teaspoon 4 to 6 times a day if you get sick. Just throw it all in there. My house is going to smell amazing after this. Like a simmer pot, you guys, I don't know if you guys ever do those simmer pots where you throw like, you can do like cranberries, cinnamon, all that good stuff, oranges, lemon, like, and it just makes your house smell amazing. So, oranges and lemon, I'm just going to do 1 of each. So like I said, I'm having the batch, because this is actually a bigger recipe where they do 6 cups of water and 2 cups of elderberry. I'm cutting it in half because, again, I'm not making a ton. We don't really usually take this in my house. But, so... with the recipe, I would say, this is what I would do if I was doubling it. I would do 6 cups of water, 2 cups of elderberry, 4 cinnamon sticks. I still only do 10 cloves. I would do the whole thing of ginger instead of cutting it in half. 1 orange, 1 lemon. And then when you're adding honey at the end, that's really kind of a personal choice how much honey you want to add, or if you want to even add it. But again, when you're adding the honey, make sure you don't add it to it when it's simmering. you want to add it to it once it's cooled, or it's going to kill all the goodness in the honey. So once I have all this stuff in here, I'm going to let it simmer. Right now it's on about 7 heat. So I'm just getting the water nice and warm. I'm going to bring it probably to a boil once I have everything and make sure it's boiling. I'm going to put a lid on it because you want to keep all the goodness in. And I'm going to put it probably down to like 1. And I'm going to let it sit for like an hour or 2. And I'm going to check in between in like while it's simmering, probably about, if I'm going to let it simmer for 2 hours, I'm probably going to check it in about an hour. Make sure that the water level hasn't gone down. If it does, you can top it off and add more in there. And then once it's done simmering, you let it cool in the pan, let it cool in the pan, and then you're going to strain it. So make sure you let it cool before you strain it. Once you strain it into a different container, like a mason jar or whatever, and it's cooled off completely, like room temperature, then I would say add the honey. Certain things that you add to stuff is like heat sensitive. So like if you're adding honey, that's heat sensitive. If you're adding like vitamin E to one of your salves, that's heat sensitive. Don't add that until the cooling phase. If you're adding certain preservatives, you can't add them at until a certain temperature because basically the heat will degrade the properties of it. This is going to be really lemony, and I'm only going to put a little bit. That's a lot of lemon juice. I hope it's not too lemony. I'm weird about citrus. I have this weird citrus thing. When I was younger, I was sick. I was a kid and I was staying home from school, and my mom kept feeding me that thick pulp orange juice, you know, because I had a sore throat and it was like soothing to my throat. And I like projectile vomited orange juice everywhere, and ever since then I'm like weird about citrus fruit. I know it's weird. I'm like weird, but so I'm just gonna throw like half of the peels in here because I don't want it too lemony. And I'm just gonna wash my hands really quick because I'm covered in lemon. And so again, I'm just gonna bring this, maybe turn it up a little more so it's just a boil. Kind of mix it around a little bit. Oh, it smells good. And once I get it to that boil, I got a nice rolling bubbling going. I'm gonna just turn it to like a low and cover it for, again, an hour, 2 hours. This isn't one of those things where like, did I take out 2 knives? This isn't one of those things where like it has to be precise. It's not going to kill you if you don't leave it in for exactly 2 hours. It's not going to kill you if you do it for 3. It's just make sure that if you leave it for longer, that you're adding more water into it because it's going to slowly get less and less in there. So mine's kind of coming to a boil right now. I'm going to show you what it looks like inside. All the goodness. Don't judge my stove. It's messy. So it's got that rolling boil going. So now I'm going to turn it down probably to like a 1. Okay. And I'm just going to let it simmer. And honestly, guys, it's really that easy to make your own medicine. Like, that's it. Pretty crazy, right? Oh, so there is one thing I did. What size pan is this? Is that size pan? What size pan? There's one thing I did want to tell you guys. When you are done making it and you strain it, you're going to notice that it's not like a syrupy consistency. It's going to be like a watery consistency. And so you have a couple options. You can leave it like a watery consistency and it's not a big deal. It's the same thing. Or if you really like that syrupy consistency, like the thickness, you can do like a cornstarch slurry where you take a little, like a cup, you put a little water in there and you add some cornstarch to it. Start with a small amount, maybe like half a teaspoon, and just make a slurry out of it. Kind of mix it in with the water so it's like not a powder anymore. It's kind of like a, you know, like blended in so it's not chunks, and then add it to the syrup and it'll get thicker. And then you can just give it, just a tip of advice. Well, actually, So yeah, so you make the slurry, you add it to it, it'll thicken it up. Add it slow because it's going to keep thickening it. Like, so you're going to put the cornstarch in it, it's going to thicken it a little bit, but as time passes, it's going to get thicker and thicker. So don't think, oh, I didn't put enough. Give it some time. Let it sit for like 10, 15 minutes. And if you don't like the thickness, add a little bit more, okay? Because it will thicken up over time with the cornstarch. It doesn't all happen at once. Or you can just leave it like a water, you know? Like if you don't care, if it's not that big of a deal to you, if you don't care about the syrupiness. Or if you're adding honey, that will definitely thicken it up if you add a lot. Some people will add like, so like if I take a jar and I make this much elderberry extract, they'll add like that much honey, which is, there's nothing wrong with it. You can add as much honey as you want. So
Heyo.
If you're making a recipe and it turns out to be like 2 cups of elderberry extract, you can add like half a cup of honey. It's really personal choice, like whatever taste you prefer. There's no like right and wrong with elderberry syrup. You can't really mess it up unless you leave it and forget it and it burns. That's really the only way you can mess it up, because like you're really just, it's just sort of like, you have to think folk medicine. Back in the day, like when they were making this years ago, hundreds of years ago, they weren't measuring crazy preciseness, right? They were just throwing things in a pot that made them feel better. And so, like I said, I know people who do add mullein to it. I know some people add rose hip to it. That's packed with vitamin C. Mullein is amazing for respiratory stuff. It's like if you have mucus in your lungs, if you have a cough, if you have nasal ickiness, if you have like inflammation in your sinuses, it's good for all things ear. So some people will actually add that to it. But there's a debate between people that the heat will degrade the medicinal properties of the mullein. So I guess it's kind of like your personal choice on whether or not you really want to add it. But that could go for anything that you're adding to it, really. I'm trying to think what else could you add to it. You could add echinacea to it. But I personally feel like elderberries get the job done, to me. So everything else you add to it is kind of like an added little bonus that you don't really need to do. It's not going to be wrong if you do add it. It will just boost the goodness of it, I guess. So that's kind of it. That's really, I mean, I figured this video was going to be a lot longer, but I feel like that's it. And making it longer would kind of just drag it out when it doesn't really need to be, and that's everything. So I'll go over the recipe one more time while Chloe sings in the background. I halved the recipe, so if you want to double it, so if you're going to double it and do like a normal big recipe, okay, and that's going to get you, it's going to get you a couple, like maybe 2-3 mason jars worth, depending on how much water you do, and when it boils down, how much you add to it. A normal recipe is 6 cups of water, 2 cups of elderberries. I use dried elderberries, okay? For reasons, which I can make a whole nother video about. But I recommend dried elderberries. And then, but fresh won't hurt, but I recommend dried. Then you're going to do 4 cinnamon sticks, 10 cloves. You can do a whole lemon, a whole orange, how much ever of those you want, depending on flavor, of how much you want to add vitamin C to it. And then once it's cooled, honey. And then if you want to half it, 3 cups of water, 1 cup of elderberries, 2 cinnamon sticks, 10 cloves, ginger. Oh, I forgot ginger in the first one. A little piece of ginger. There's no right or wrong. A lemon and an orange. That's all I'm doing. But, you know, if you want to experiment, get crazy. Add some other stuff to it. See what happens. It's not going to hurt. I mean, you have to think like, so many people are like, oh, can I add too much cloves to this or too much ginger to that? But like, you have to think, you're eating ginger in your food every day. And you don't say to the chef, hey, don't add too much. I don't want to get sick. Like, of course there's an amount where it's going to taste disgusting, but that's really the worst of it. It's not, you can't like really, I don't know. I just don't see how people could like, the only way you could really overdose on ginger is if you took like a bottle this size of like extract that's concentrated and drank the whole thing. It would absolutely make you sick, because everything that ginger affects in your body would go pew pew pew, you know, like it would be doing all the things to you, but extremely, because it's so concentrated. So I wouldn't drink concentrated ginger, but adding a big chunk of ginger to your elderberry extract is not going to kill you. It's just not, because we put it on, these are things we cook with every day, you know, like it's just food we eat every day. So don't freak yourself out. It's not hard. It's actually stupid easy. And I'm 100% confident that you guys can do this and make this yourself and have this through the winter and have it fresh and not have to worry about, you know, like where you got it from, if they properly storage. I recommend keeping it in the fridge, because if you do and you make a jar, keep it in the fridge, it's good for a minimum 1 month. And some people say 2 to 3 months. I don't go further than a month and a half. That's my personal thing. But again, this is so easy to make that you can just make it and let it sit while you're like me. I'm going to let it sit and simmer while I'm doing dishes. And it's so easy. And my elderberries, I bought this bag of, I think it's 1 pound. Yeah, this is 1 pound of elderberries, and it's like this full, plus what I just took out and put in there. And this was like, I think maybe like 20 bucks, 15, 20 bucks from, where did I get it? From here, maybe? I'll have to look. But it's not bad. It's 20 bucks for that giant thing. That will be more than enough to get you through the winter. If you have only powdered ginger, you could use it. It's not going to be as effective, but it's absolutely going to work. Because literally, like when people, okay, I'm going to teach you guys how to make your own herbs, okay? When you have grounds, like powdered cinnamon, literally all people are doing is taking cinnamon sticks, they're putting them in a coffee grinder and grinding them until they turn into a powder, and there's your powdered cinnamon. When you have powdered ginger, they dry out ginger, put it in a coffee grinder, and get it into a powder, and then put it in a container, and you have fresh spices. Like, it's that easy, guys. Like, I could make my own ginger. You could make your own ginger. It's a little different when it's something like Italian seasoning that you're trying to get, but like with oregano, you take an oregano plant, chop it up, dry it out, put it in a coffee grinder, and grind it until, because you can obviously stop it when you want. You don't have to grind it, stop it before it's a powder, but while it's still like smaller pieces, you can make your own oregano seasoning. Like chili powder, you take the chilies, you clean out the seeds, dry them up. I mean, you could include the seeds if you're crazy and you like super spicy stuff, but not me. Dry them up, put them in a coffee grinder, grind it to a powder, and you've got your own chili seasoning. So there's how you can make your own seasonings if you do, guys, just so you know. And then just buy like a little glass container on Amazon so that it doesn't absorb the plastic thickness. And that's it. That's it, guys. That's elderberry extract. This video, honestly, if I stopped babbling, could have been maybe like a 15-minute video on how to make elderberry extract. So again, it's simmering. I'm going to let mine simmer for 2 hours. Halfway through, I'm going to check it, make sure the water level is okay. If not, I'm going to add more of my filtered water to it. I'll probably add like another cup, depending on how low it's gotten. And then once it's done, I'm going to take it off the burner, let it cool for probably like an hour. And then once it's completely cooled, I'm going to take my straining cheesecloth or muslin, like the nut bags that they sell, and I'm going to strain it into a mason jar, and then I'm going to add honey once it's completely cooled, and I'm going to have elderberry syrup for the next month and a half for my kiddos. And that's it. You can do this, guys. Absolutely. Super simple, super easy. I have faith in you. Yeah, it's that easy. That's it. All right, so I guess I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go do some dishes while this cooks and while I figure out what I'm doing for dinner for my kids. And I hope this was easy for you guys. If you want, I can put the recipe in the comment section. And yeah, that's it. So have an amazing Thursday, guys, and I will talk to you later.